First at 4 o'clock, tracking rain showers moving in, and that rain will become more widespread overnight. We'll talk about the timing coming up.
And perhaps some folks getting a jump on that rain. We're seeing a good crowd downtown, and it's been a while since we've driven with wet roads.
The charges against the Fulton County jailers accused in the death of Anthony May have been reinstated. I'm Bobeth Yates, and coming up, I have details on the recent Georgia Supreme Court ruling.
And in an hour, the Braves and the Phillies face off in Game 3 of the NLDS. We are live in Philly on the latest with this matchup.
11 Alive News at 4 p.m. starts now.
And we'd like to wish you a great afternoon and welcome to 11 Alive News at 4. I'm Jonathan Martin.
And I'm Faith Jesse, and we're starting our news an hour earlier now to catch you up on what's going on in your neighborhood.
And today that especially means making sure you know what's going on with the weather and traffic because there is some rain out there that could impact your evening commute. So we've got meteorologist Melissa Nord here along with Atlanta's traffic expert Crash Clark here. And Melissa, the rain is moving in.
It's moving in, and this is the wettest stretch for us in more than 3 weeks.
Wow.
It's been really dry.
Yeah.
So as this rain comes down, little buildup of oils on the roadway. I think that might play an impact on this evening commute. But look at this slug of moisture moving in from the Gulf of Mexico. Rain not reaching the ground everywhere yet, but I am starting to track some of those light showers on the Cobb and Cherokee County lines right around Ackworth, heading up towards Lake Altoona. This is really light. Very light, just a couple sprinkles on the windshield, but there is a lot more moisture that's starting to move its way in. You can see here, we're looking south of the city down I-85 towards LaGrange and Troup County and Meriwether counties where we got the rain reaching the ground there. In Atlanta, it's still cloudy. It is still dry overlooking that Georgia Tech camera. 73 degrees, look at that. Airport just came in with their 4 o'clock observation recording a little bit of light rain activity. So the atmosphere saturating. Here, where do we go from here? Rain showers moving in this evening during that evening commute. Then that rain becomes more widespread overnight, and it will hang around to start that commute tomorrow morning. We'll talk about that part of the forecast and look ahead to a cooler weekend coming up. But with those rain showers moving in, that could do a number on your evening commute. Crash Clark, what's the latest?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Melissa. When we get a little bit of rain with a little bit of that oil on the roads, that's when things get really slick out there. We're already seeing a little bit of volume. Maybe some folks are saying, hey, we're not going to wait for that rain. We're going to go ahead and get out of here and do our business. Connector northbound, we had some trouble before 10th Street. Good news is that's been pushed out of the way, just about cleared up. But we're looking right there. That's the connector southbound. So already seeing some of those delays beginning along I-85 as you get past 400, making your way past Atlantic Station. Pretty standard stuff, really. Gonna give you condition red just because of that volume from Brookwood to the south side. It'll take you a good 20 minutes coming in from the south side. Pretty much the same thing, about 18 to 20 minutes. And there you go. That's that volume on the connector southbound. Basically, we are waiting for the rain. Jonathan?
We are, Crash. Thank you. And you can track the weather in your neighborhood by downloading the 11 Alive News app. Just scan the QR code on your screen and you can get it for free.
All right, breaking right now, officials say that they have found a gun at East Jackson Comprehensive High School today. That's in Jackson County. School officials say school resource officers were notified of a loaded handgun this morning. They say the student was immediately taken into custody by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office and will face criminal charges. No one was hurt.
Also today, police are investigating after they received threats of a person with a gun at Arlington Christian School in Fairburn. However, officials say there are no reported injuries and no suspects have been located. They say this is still an ongoing investigation. We, of course, will bring you new information just as soon as we get it.
All right, and tonight we are learning about another arrest made after a woman's body was found in a trunk outside of Gwinnett County Spa. Police say the discovery led them to a house of horrors hiding in one neighborhood. So warrants show that Mihi Lee is now the 7th person arrested in connection to this case. She is charged with false imprisonment. Police say she is the mother of the 3 other suspects in this case. So police say the victim was a South Korean national. Her body found in a trunk of a car last month outside Jeju Sauna in Duluth. Police say she was brought from South Korea under the impression she was joining a religious organization. Then they say she was held in the basement of a home where she was beaten and starved to death. One of the suspects, Eric Nguyen, actually has a bond hearing that just went on recess. It's revealing some new details in this case. His defense team claimed he escaped from the home with the victim's body and that he was also being abused. Prosecutors, though, say he was a willing participant. Now, this is a very complicated case with a lot of layers. We are digging deeper into it tonight. That's coming up on 11 Alive News at 5.
The Georgia Supreme Court today reversed a ruling that threw out murder charges against 6 Fulton County jailers. This was for the death of an inmate from 2018. Our Bobeth Yates has been following this story. She's live with more. Bobeth.
Well, Jonathan, Antonio Mays died here at the Fulton County Jail back in 2018, and those accused in his murder are back to work because the charges were dropped. But all of that could change based on the Supreme Court's ruling. Now, the Fulton County DA tells me they are moving forward with the trial against the 6 jailers indicted in the murder of Antonio May. Wednesday, Georgia Supreme Court overturned the previous ruling, dropping the charges. A lower court originally revised the indictment, claiming the jailers were peace officers and should have been given the opportunity to participate in the indictment process. The charges were dropped, and based on that technicality, and now that the charges have been reinstated, May's family members are celebrating that this case could soon go to trial.
I spoke with my family members once I heard it, and I spoke to his sister as well, and she's very excited as well. We just want to have justice. After watching those videos, justice needs to be served.
Now, coming up at 5, I have more from the attorneys representing one of the jailers and why they say their fight is not over. Sending it back to you guys.
Tonight, we are learning more about who could testify in Fulton County's sprawling election interference trial. The judge has ordered RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, and a Wisconsin GOP official to testify. So the development raises the stakes for the first trial, which will be televised. The judge determined McDaniel and Jones are both, quote, a necessary material witness in this prosecution. The defendants in the trial, pro-Trump attorney Kenneth Chesbro and Trump campaign lawyer Sidney Powell, have pleaded not guilty. Jury selection is set to begin later this month. All right, let's take a live look right now. You are taking a look at the city of brotherly love, aka Philadelphia, and you're looking at Citizens Bank Park. That is where the Braves hope tonight that they can knock off the Phillies and take a 2-1 lead in the National League Division Series. I know a lot of people at home sending some energy up there to Philly tonight. The Braves grabbed their first win of the series in exciting comeback fashion in Game 2. That took place on Monday night.
It did, and the Braves are really hoping they can jump out first tonight.
Yeah.
Now, our Maria Martin is in what you might call enemy territory as the Braves are getting ready for first pitch in just about an hour. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Jonathan. Yeah, this series is tied 1-1 as we get ready for Game 3 here at Citizens Bank Park, and we do know who's going to take the mound for the Atlanta Braves. It will be Bryce Elder, meaning the Braves are going a little bit more of a traditional route on the mound for Game 3. Bryce Elder, he started 31 games this season. He was an all-star, but in the second half of the year, he did struggle. If you look at the numbers and the statistics, the 2 halves of the year really tell a different story. He really did take a downward turn in the back half of the season. However, manager Brian Snitker said that the inter-squad games last week is what gave them all the confidence to give him the ball in Game 3. That and the added rest for Bryce, meaning he could be ready to go tonight. His buddy, his teammate Spencer Strider, said that he has so much confidence that Bryce Elder will come out and do really well for Game 3.
Well, I think he's in a great place. I mean, this is the postseason, so you could throw your regular season stats, your law of averages, all that out the window. And I'm an analytical, statistical guy, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win one game today, and then we'll focus on tomorrow when we get there. But I couldn't think of anybody better to hand the ball to, and like I said, we're focused on just competing as hard as we can, being as confident as we can, and I know that's what Bryce is going to do.
Brian Snitker also said pregame that Spencer Strider will get the ball for Game 4. And Strider also talked about the atmosphere here at the bank. It is notoriously loud in this place. He said he does love that environment and that it's good for baseball. He also added a nod of confidence and that Bryce Elder will be ready for the noise.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of noise. Maria, thanks so much. And Maria was mentioning earlier that the players there in this stadium, they can actually, the fans can hover over the players in the dugout. So it's kind of an interesting place to play, but they've got it. I think so.
That's why we all wore pink.
Yes.
Blending the red and the blue for Braves.
Yes, I like, you know what? I didn't think about that.
No. breast cancer awareness.
That is a hostile environment. Don't let anybody fool you about Philadelphia. If I was ever driving to New York, I would stop before Philadelphia and take a helicopter over that city to New York. That is how bad Philadelphia is. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Those
Keep it
fans are
real.
terrible. We need to get in there, get an early lead, and quiet that
I'm right
crowd.
there with you, man.
Thank you, sir.
There we go. All right, what's still ahead tonight? Your next chance to become a billionaire. We have everything you need to know about tonight's big Powerball drawing.
And as the war between Hamas and Israel ramps up, there are now claims that America's tax money is going towards funding the terrorist organization. Our Verified team is separating fact from fiction. You're watching 11 Alive News at 4.
And we've got movement across the top end, 285 westbound as we go through Sandy Springs. But have you ever heard of a rhythmic rush hour? I'm going to tell you all about it when we come right back.
Welcome back to 11 Alive News at 4 o'clock. The death toll in the Israel-Hamas war just keeps rising, and that includes Americans. Our Ron Jones is here tonight with the latest on what's going on in the Mideast.
Yeah, that's right, Jonathan. Exactly. So the State Department says that the number of U.S. citizens confirmed killed in the war now stands at 22, Jonathan. So here's some other headlines that we're following on that war. The United States is conducting what is called active conversations to allow for the safe passage of civilians out of Gaza. That includes Americans. A White House national security spokesperson says that Israel and Egypt are helping out, which is so important. Also today, Israel has created a war cabinet to oversee how they plan on responding to Hamas. And Gaza's only power plant is now out of fuel, forcing it to shut down after Israel cut off its supplies. And the war in Israel, folks, is making for the search for a House Speaker even more urgent. And tonight, there's a new Republican nominee. Majority Leader Steve Scalise beat out Jim Jordan to win the House GOP's nomination for the post. At this point, it's unclear whether Scalise can get enough votes to push him over the top. So right now, he needs at least 218 to win the speakership. After the vote, Scalise said his top priority is to get the House working once again.
The first order of business under Speaker Steve Scalise is going to bring a strong resolution expressing support for Israel. We've got a very bipartisan bill. The McCall-Meeks resolution ready to go right away to express our support for Israel.
So here's what's going to happen next. There will be a vote before the full House, and that could happen at any moment because we're monitoring that. Our team is here in the newsroom. Meanwhile, Democrats are expected to nominate their own person for the post.
All right, Ron, thank you so much for that update.
Sure.
So we want to talk about this conflict in the Middle East. Hamas, the terrorist organization, has been supported by Iran for years, but some people claim that support led directly to this attack and that it was made possible by American taxpayer money given to Iran by President Biden. Here's Casey Decker to verify.
Our sources: the U.S. Departments of State and Treasury, the National Security Council, and the Congressional Research Service. In 2018, President Trump pulled out of President Obama's Iran deal, reinstating several sanctions against Iran. But some countries like South Korea rely on Iranian oil, so the Trump administration granted a few temporary waivers so they could still buy oil from Iran. When those waivers expired 6 months later, about $6 billion in oil money was on its way to Iran from South Korea. The banks involved in that transaction froze the money, fearing that if they didn't, they'd face American sanctions. The money was unfrozen about a month ago, so Iran now has access to the money, but the U.S. State Department says it could only be used for humanitarian purposes. The Treasury Department and National Security Council said this week Iran has yet to actually touch the money. Still, some people have argued that since Iran knows that money is there, other money that it was going to use for humanitarian purposes can now be redirected to things like support for Hamas. But there's no evidence that's actually happened. Iran does financially support Hamas, but U.S. and Israeli officials say they aren't sure Iran was directly involved in this attack. Iran says it was not. Regardless, we know for certain the U.S. did not send $6 billion in taxpayer money to Iran. It allowed Iran to access an oil payment from South Korea that was frozen in 2019. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
4:16 your time right now. We've had dry weather for much of this month and the tail end of last month, but that is changing now. I'm tracking rain moving in, but how much rain we see is going to widely vary across the area. And I want to show you a big picture on this rainfall forecast map where you notice those rainfall numbers. This is just through tomorrow evening. Not a whole lot up in far north Georgia, up in the mountains, where it might just only be 1/10 or 2/10 of an inch of rain, but that rainfall amount has been looking higher and higher today with each model run coming in. So now it looks like Atlanta could end up with around an inch of rain. And to the south of the metro area, we could have some pockets with 2 to 3 inches of rain. So deep tropical moisture moving in, the most widespread rain, and at times moderate to heavy rain. That's going to stay across central and southern Georgia, but some of that pushes up into our area. So you see big picture. Whole lot of green on the map. It's not just us in Georgia, but Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, who has been dealing with significant drought conditions there. They need this rain, and we need the rain too. We've got a rain deficit over 3.5 inches for the fall so far. But where is it raining now? Not quite reaching the ground for everyone here inside the perimeter, but I am noticing that rain starting to reach the ground in parts of the southwestern metro area, tracking some of that shower activity. Very light in nature, starting to push into southern Fulton County. Also, as we travel up towards the Rome area, Floyd County, we've got some light rain reaching the ground there. We'll travel south along I-75 from McDonough to Griffin. This is just really light, more like sprinkles on the windshield. But over the course of the next couple of hours, those few sprinkles turn into rain, and that rain will turn steadier, and at times overnight could be moderate at times. So it's a good soaking rain south of I-20. Rainfall totals lighter to the north. But here's the hour-by-hour forecast track showing those showers increasing in coverage over the next couple of hours for us. By 9 o'clock tonight, this rain is fairly widespread. So it's going to be steady in the overnight. You notice where it's yellow and orange on the map? That is where the rain amounts are going to be highest. So we'll see moderate rain continuing overnight. And then first thing tomorrow morning, we're still starting out the door with some showers. But that widespread rain by 7 o'clock is clearing east of our area. And then showers will taper off between there and noon. And we should have a dry, breezy, cooler afternoon tomorrow with increasing sunshine. So rain moving in now, moves out first thing tomorrow morning, turning breezy and cooler tomorrow afternoon. Another 40% chance of some showers moving in later on Friday, but that'll be a precursor to our next cold front. And behind that cold front, turns colder for the weekend. In fact, by Saturday, remember how chilly last Sunday was? That's how this Sunday is going to end up being. See those cloudy skies over Atlanta right now? It's 73 degrees, and around the metro, we're sitting in the low 70s. But overnight tonight, we'll track that widespread rain. Tomorrow afternoon, a high of 70. For Friday, 40% chance of a few showers, and then that all clears out for the weekend. You notice Saturday still mild at 77, but colder air comes rushing in. Sunday afternoon, 65. Will stay chilly for much of next week.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Americans are now buried in trillions of dollars in debt. So how can you dig your way out? Our Jennifer Bellamy here with a look at what's coming up tonight at 5.
Yeah, if you're struggling with past due payments, you're certainly not alone. Tonight, we have tips on paying down your balance.
I'm Tracy McPeer in Atlanta, where a city council member tells me they've heard police patrols at city parks are dropping. I'll tell you what they're doing to find out, coming up at 5.
Plus, the traumatic events of Israel can cause stress and anxiety, especially among our children. Professional advice on how to speak with your kids about the ongoing situation. That's all new and next when we see you tonight at 5.
All right, once again, we are hours away from someone hopefully here in Georgia becoming an instant multi-millionaire. Maybe you are the one. Tonight, the Powerball drawing will have an estimated $1.73 billion with a B jackpot up for grabs with a cash value of a meager $756.6 million. Just some pocket change, right? Well, the last time this jackpot was hit was back in mid-July with the winning ticket sold in Los Angeles. Powerball says the overall odds of winning any prize are about 1 in 25. But the odds of matching all 5 white balls and that red Powerball, 1 in 292.2 million.
Maybe
so
tonight
there's
is
still
the
a
night.
chance.
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe there's. Do you have a ticket?
I have not gotten a ticket. I always say, I need to play, but then I never play.
Well, Mr. Crash Clark, aren't you the lottery player?
I have played. I have not played tonight. I will get my ticket, though, because I mean, look, I barely missed it last week by 5 numbers. That was it.
Did you win anything?
I was in. No,
Oh,
I got
by
nothing.
5 numbers.
Hey, if you don't play, you can't win, so
That
give
is
it a
true.
shot.
That's what they always say.
Love it. All right. Well, hopefully one of you guys wins. Let's talk about this. A plane crash last night in Clayton County leaves 2 people hurt. Coming up in our next half hour, we're learning more about what led to the crash and hear from neighbors who witnessed the aftermath.
Also, Jada Pinkett Smith now says she and her husband Will Smith, well, they've been living separate lives and been doing it for a while. Some shocking news today that they told NBC. You're watching 11 Alive News at 4. All right, welcome back, everyone. All new. Jada Pinkett Smith is now revealing the truth about her relationship with Will Smith. During an exclusive interview with NBC's Hoda Kotb, Pinkett Smith revealed she and Will Smith have been separated since 2016 and have lived completely separate lives, she said. Even though they continued to appear together as a couple in public, Pinkett Smith is opening up more about her relationship ahead of the release of her new memoir called Worthy. All right, Seinfeld fans, if you've been waiting for a reunion to happen, it just might happen. During a stand-up comedy show in Boston last week, Jerry Seinfeld hinted that he's working with the co-creator of the legendary sitcom on an idea that would pick up where the series left off. Now, the show ended in 1998 with the four main characters, you might remember, going to jail for violating a Good Samaritan law. And a lot of people didn't like the ending, so they're hoping maybe they can come back. We'll see. Swifties, are you ready for this? And by it, we are talking about the Eras Tour movie set to hit the theaters this weekend. Multiple theater chains are reporting record pre-sales, and that made Friday the 13th a scary release date for other studio films. But Eras isn't the only major music tour heading to theaters. We've been talking about Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, also set to hit theaters this year in December. So, is this the return of the concert film? At least it seems like it, at least with these two huge stars, Beyonce and Taylor Swift. They're two of the biggest in the world. They can do it.
And I haven't seen either of the tours in person, but from what I've seen on social media, we've seen a lot of it. They are major productions.
They're major.
And so it could be a movie.
And you get to kind of relive it if you were there.
Love it.
Here's Crash.
All right, it's a tractor, trailer, and another vehicle that are just about ready to move. Come on, this is live TV. 85 southbound near Pleasant-Dale. Of course, that's against the flow, but I still want to tell you about that rhythmic rush hour in Sandy Springs. You'll hear all about it. Melissa?
And I am tracking live. Rain showers coming down. We can see that rain making the pavement wet at our live camera in Noonan. Look at this on live radar. That rain increasing as we head towards Coweta County. We'll have your forecast, how long the rain sticks around, coming up next. First at 4, tracking rain showers moving in. That rain becomes widespread overnight. We'll time out what it means for your commutes.
People in a Clayton County neighborhood still trying to process a plane crash happening right in their backyard. I'll tell you what they saw.
Also, those annoying junk fees may be slashed if the White House has its way.
And one area superintendent steps in to help cover his students' college application fees.
And we'd like to welcome you back here to 11 Alive News at 4. I'm Jonathan Martin.
And I'm Faith Jesse. We want to start things off right here at 4:30 with a check of your forecast. Meteorologist Melissa Nord joining us right now.
I know, Melissa, we haven't had rain in a while, but it's here now.
I mean, it's been a dry October to say the least, but that rain coming in, this is not just a few light showers. The rain is going to be fairly widespread into the overnight, and we're just now seeing the beginnings of the rain reaching the ground. So everything on the map that you're seeing that's green, it's not all reaching the ground quite yet, but where I am tracking that rain reach the ground is in Coweta County along I-85. We've been watching that rain coming down in our live camera in Noonan. You can see a little pocket where it's even a little bit moderate just south of Noonan. That's going to be heading northward right up 85 and traveling into South Fulton County, where we also have some light rain starting to reach the ground over the city of South Fulton up to the northwestern suburbs. Few showers as well starting to reach the ground there near the Rome area, and then south along I-75. It's also raining lightly in McDonough. Now, as this rain comes down, that could lead to some implications for your commute home today. So get the latest with Crash Clark.
Yeah, it'll definitely change the landscape of our rush hour, Melissa. That's why we are always staying weather aware. This is our one wreck that we're really concerned about, 85. This is southbound at Pleasant-Dale Road. You can see they're going to hold all lanes and move all this out of the way. So a temporary alert. Now, what was I talking about? A rhythmic rush hour. Well, GDOT is beginning pile driving activities all around the Mount Vernon Bridge. Steel and concrete beams being just jammed into the ground for support Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You're not getting it now, but you're going to get it for a little while, 3 weeks to be exact. They're going to be doing some pacing as well all along 285. So folks, if you live in that area, get ready for some rhythmic noises throughout the day as we clear this wreck, 85 south at Pleasant-Dale. Faith?
All right, Crash, thank you so much. Well, tonight, neighbors in Jonesboro are grateful that a small plane that crashed near Terra Beach Lane didn't hit their homes. Now, while the two women inside are now recovering, neighbors are still processing what happened here. Teresa Bowles talked to several witnesses and has a look at the damage left behind.
Neighbors say the plane crashed about a half mile into these woods behind me, and a witness who saw one of the women inside of the plane on a stretcher in front of his home says she's lucky to be alive. I walked with crews through the woods to the scene of the crash. It looked like the plane bolted through some trees, knocking them over, and when I got close to the fuel cap, crews noticed there was nothing leaking out. As neighbors hear the plane may have run out of fuel. Investigators haven't confirmed that with 11 Alive. Here's what the scene looked like last night, and here's a clip from Jaden Letsom, who watched the plane circling above CVS as he left work yesterday. The FAA says the single-engine plane crashed in Jonesboro around 11 Tuesday. Justin Cooper saw the two women being rescued. Here's what he saw when authorities finally located the plane.
They brought him to one of Garney's, and one of them was screaming pretty loud. The first one they brought out when they lifted her and put her on the stretcher. The other one, you know, she just kept saying, "Thank God, thank God."
The NTSB is still investigating the cause of the crash, and we'll update you as we learn more. In Jonesboro, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
A man is charged tonight following a SWAT standoff in Gwinnett County. Police say the 46-year-old who was accused of stealing a car went to a home on Compton Woods Drive in Loganville this morning. That's where they say two women ran away while the man barricaded himself inside and refused to leave. SWAT and Gwinnett County police were later able to get inside and arrest the suspect. They say he was taken to a local hospital because he complained of chest pain. And when breaking news happens, make sure you are connected with us. You can download the 11 Alive News app. It's very easy to get. All you have to do is scan that QR code you see right there on your screen.
All right, this is some not so good news for students planning to go to college. High school student scores on the ACT admissions test have dropped to their lowest in more than 3 decades. They show the average ACT composite score for U.S. students was 19.5 out of 36. So last year, the average score was 19.8. The average scores in reading, science, and math all were below benchmarks. The ACT said students must reach to have a high probability of success in their first year of college courses. But Georgia test scores are showing some pretty good signs. We'll break down those full numbers coming up tonight at 5. You know, here at 11 Alive, we're always looking to offer you some ways to save money. But today, the superintendent for Marietta City Schools has his own way for students to keep some of their own money. Marietta City School Superintendent Dr. Grant Rivera is helping seniors cover the cost of college applications. Known as the Apply to College Day, the superintendent is offering to pay for one college application for each senior at Marietta City Schools who applies. So Dr. Rivera says he hopes to help students chase their dreams.
For me as superintendent, what I want is for the child who has a reach school, where someone might say, well, I don't know if I can afford that application. I want them to put that worry aside, and I want them to chase their hopes and dreams.
Now, this is the 4th year the superintendent has paid for the students' applications, and that is just such a great, selfless thing to do. I think, like you said, a lot of students maybe wouldn't apply for a school because maybe they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
Maybe their family doesn't have the money, so that's awesome.
I love seeing it, stepping out and helping your community when you're able to do it.
Yep, when you can.
We all got to step up and do it. Well, keeping students safe at one HBCU may now involve walking off the campus. Why one college is making the decision. That's coming up next.
Also, charities are collecting millions tonight to support those in the Middle East as tensions are rising in the Israel-Hamas war. How you can also make sure you're not getting scammed when you donate. That's coming up. Welcome back, everyone. Well, as tensions in the Israel-Hamas war are continuing tonight, the devastation is prompting a lot of people to want to find ways to help. And new at 4, 11 Alive's Brittany Kleinpeter is explaining what you need to look out for to avoid a new wave of scams.
The Jewish Foundation of the Greater Atlanta area is just one of several local organizations raising funds to support those in Israel. And tonight, they tell me they've raised millions in just a matter of days.
We have partners on the ground in Israel, whether it be the Israel Trauma Center, whether it be the Jewish Agency for Israel. We have partners that meet the needs of that community. And every dollar we will raise in this emergency campaign will go to one of those entities.
Charities with partners directly on the ground of the impacted area is what the Atlanta chapter of the Better Business Bureau says you need to be on the lookout for to avoid getting scammed.
Not all relief organizations will be positioned to provide relief quickly. So you just want to make sure that there is actually a headquarters or something in the impact area that you know that relief is going to get there.
Among the other tips they recommend, avoid fundraisers on social media that aren't verified. Check whether the organization has a history of providing emergency relief. And before supporting fundraisers on crowdsourcing sites, verify who the funds are going to. Reporting in Atlanta, Brittany Kleinpeter, 11 Alive News.
A shooting at a prominent HBCU has school leaders taking a strong defense move to keep its students safe. 11 Alive's Ron Jones has more on what Morgan State University is doing and some other national stories making headlines tonight.
Yeah, that's right, Faith. So the shooting left, if you recall, 5 people injured during homecoming festivities at the Baltimore campus. So now there are walls going up all around Morgan State. So the university president says that the wall would extend beyond existing barriers by about 8,000 feet to encircle 90% of the campus. Now, previous Morgan State homecoming celebrations have also been the subject of violence, including last year when a young man was shot during what officials are calling an unsanctioned homecoming after party. And prayers are going out tonight, folks, for Olympic gold medalist Mary Lou Retton. She's battling a rare form of pneumonia and is now fighting for her life. Her daughter posted on social media asking for those prayers and donations to help with her mom's medical bills. The 55-year-old is at the ICU at a Texas hospital, and her daughter says her mother cannot breathe on her own. Retton captured the hearts and minds of Americans during the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles, winning the women's all-around category when she was just 16 years old. And NASA revealing today scientists found water and carbon on a 4.5 billion year old asteroid. Now, the samples were collected back in 2020. It finally arrived on planet Earth just 2 weeks ago. Researchers have been analyzing the asteroids ever since, and NASA says the sample contains an abundance of material which scientists are still studying.
Ron, thank you.
Sure.
In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, one local nonprofit organization is now looking to bring more mental health services to the Hispanic community. Sur Familia is a nonprofit organization that provides family, social, and mental health services. The organization is now partnering with CareStone to increase its outreach efforts to the state's Hispanic community. The initiative will help to diagnose and also assess behavioral risks. Tonight, there are some new efforts to crack down on junk fees. Those are the hidden costs that often leave us frustrated after almost every major purchase. We'll explain what's being done to stop them.
And 20 minutes before 5 o'clock, that rain shower activity moving in, and it becomes more widespread overnight. We'll time it out, take a look at the latest radar coming up.
Welcome back to 11 Alive News at 4. All right, do you ever see something called a service fee and you think, what am I actually being charged for?
Yeah, we see them all the time, right? So if you don't actually know what it is, it's all right. If you're maybe wondering why they're always popping up, President Biden is calling many of these fees junk fees, and he unveiled a new effort to crack down on them. So the Federal Trade Commission proposed a rule that would ban businesses from charging hidden and misleading fees. Those are things like service fees on concert tickets or resort fees when you go to check into your hotel. Now, it wouldn't impose a limit on the fees themselves, but it would make them more visible earlier in the sales process. Biden said it will save people money when they can see these fees up front.
These junk fees can add up hundreds of dollars, weighing down family budgets, making it harder to pay family bills. These junk fees may not matter to the wealthy, but they sure matter to working folks in homes like the one I grew up in.
Yeah, it sucks when you go to pay and then you're like, what are all these fees? What's going on here? Well, coming up tonight on 11 Alive News at 5, we have a look at how these new measures can save you money and exactly what kind of fees could be going away.
All right, and that's not the only story we're working on tonight for 5 o'clock. Jennifer Bellamy here now with a look at some of the other stories coming up in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, Jonathan, we are working on a lot, including another arrest in a case that's been described as a house of horrors. A woman's body found in the trunk of a car, and police say it all ties back to what they're calling a deadly religious cult. We've got the very latest coming up at 5. And the Atlanta Falcons hosting their NFL Flag in Schools training at one local high school. We're taking you inside to all the fun and hearing how the activity is getting kids excited to exercise. Plus, a new mural now on display in the city of South Fulton. Tonight, we are hearing from leaders about how the art helps unify the community. That's all new and next when we see it tonight at 5.
446, check this out. Rain coming down on our cameras across North Georgia. We see that rain right now at our live camera that is in the city of Newnan. We have been watching the rain coming down at the airport as well. So wet runways, wet tarmac. No delays weather related as of now, though, and I'm not expecting severe weather. It's just rain. So 73 right now in Atlanta, calm winds. The humidity has been rising up as that moisture has been working its way into North Georgia. And you can see the radar how at 4 o'clock when we came on the air at the start of this loop, we still had a lot of dry areas, but now a lot more green on the map. So the atmosphere is saturating, the rain's coming down. Now, initially this is pretty light, but it is creating wet roadways, and those roads could be slick on your drive home from work. So 446 right now, tracking that rain now reaching the ground all inside the perimeter and into DeKalb County. As we travel down along I-85, another little area right here just north of Newnan that has a little heavier rain rates, and that's going to push up into the city of South Fulton. As we travel up 85 to the north side of town through Gwinnett County, we see the northern edge of that rain now just about to Lawrenceville and the Beaufort area. And then zooming out wider, you see we also have some showers stretching throughout the North Georgia mountains, out towards Helen and Blue Ridge as well. Showers starting to reach the ground. So rain becoming much more widespread from here the rest of this evening. Now, I expect the rain to stay widespread overnight south of I-20, really the metro area and points south will see that widespread rain. So if you're up in the North Georgia mountains, Dalton, Blairsville, out towards Ellijay area, you're going to see showers. It may not be steady the whole night, but where it is going to be steady and even picking up in intensity, that's south of I-20. So we see the rain continuing overnight tonight all the way through 2 a.m. and then fast forwarding into tomorrow morning, the widespread rain going to be wrapping up here as that commute is unfolding tomorrow. So we will start the commute wet, but that steady widespread rain will be clearing out as the commute's ending, and the showers altogether will taper off by about lunchtime tomorrow. So for the afternoon tomorrow, we'll dry things out. We'll bring back some sunshine gradually, but it's going to be breezy, and it's also going to be cooler than we are today. So today's high temperatures made it up into the mid-70s. Tomorrow, we'll be lucky if we get above 70 degrees. Rainfall numbers, this is just through tomorrow evening. About an inch or so right around the perimeter area. South of the metro, there could be a few pockets in central Georgia that get over 2 inches of rain, but those rain totals taper off and get lower significantly as you get north of the metro. You see there Canton, maybe a quarter of an inch. Up towards the North Georgia mountains, maybe just a tenth or 2/10 of an inch of rain. There is another chance on Friday of a few scattered showers, but what's coming behind it is a dip in the jet stream, big pocket of colder air coming in for the weekend. So check it out on the temperature trend the next 5 days. Tomorrow, 70, 68 on Friday. We'll bump up to 77 Saturday, but then highs drop to the low and mid 60s for the end of the weekend, and as we look at most of the first half of next week. So here's your 7-day forecast as we track those rain showers in tonight. It'll be widespread. Tomorrow morning clearing out. Another chance of showers on Friday. Cooler air moving in early next week. Chris Holcomb back in at 5 o'clock tonight. He's going to be tracking this rain and how widespread it becomes through the overnight. All right, let's get the latest on your evening commute. What's the latest, Crash?
All right, Melissa. Well, we've been kind of lucky despite the fact that we are seeing some of that rain. Boy, look at this right here, how dark it is down by the airport. 85 at Camp Creek. Not saturated, but those roads are definitely starting to pick up a little bit of that moisture. So if you're heading off to the airport, just be prepared for it. Slow it down. I know tomorrow morning we're definitely going to have some wet roads out there, so we need to plan for that. Look at Georgia 400 northbound. A rough ride leaving Buckhead trying to make your way up towards Sandy Springs. I don't think we're quite used to the new 400 285 interchange yet. 75, 400, there it is, and I-85 all heading north. Condition yellow, and look at that volume on 400 northbound heading up from Buckhead. Faith?
All right, Crash. All right, new tonight at 4. A reason we always talk about the traffic is because if you live here in Metro, it's likely a car makes up a huge part of your life. We're a driving town, right? Well, here's what you can do to manage the monthly cost of owning your car. Finance experts at Carvana say calculating the total cost of owning your car, or one you might buy soon, is the best way to keep your auto budget in line. Right now, the monthly cost of owning a used car in the U.S. is nearly $900 a month. That's according to the American Automobile Association. This is not just the car payment. This includes your insurance, your maintenance, and monthly auto loans.
You shouldn't spend more than 10 to 15% of your gross monthly income on vehicle-related expenses. And so that includes insurance too.
Yeah, right now, the average American earns a little over $60,000 a year, meaning they should not spend over $800 on monthly car-related expenses. You can stay tuned at 5 o'clock to learn how you can lower your monthly car payments.
Okay, Family Dollar has now issued a nationwide voluntary recall on an extensive list of the over-the-counter drugs they have and some other healthcare products, which they say are stored outside of their label temperature requirements. The FDA says this recall impacts Family Dollars in more than 20 states, including ones here in Georgia. They've instructed all impacted stores to immediately remove and discontinue the sale of the impacted products from their inventory. So far, Family Dollar has not received any complaints or reports of illness that's related to these recalled items. And Halloween might be less than 3 weeks away, right? But Hallmark, they are already thinking ahead to Christmas. The company announced it will be revealing 150 new holiday ornaments during its annual Keepsake ornament debut. Hallmark says the ornaments will include classic designs, iconic fan favorites, as well as some pop culture trends. Hallmark first launched its Keepsake ornament, their collection here in 1973 with 6 glass ball ornaments and a dozen figures made of yarn. The Keepsake debut will take place October 14th through October 22nd. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and when we come back here, you see we're wearing pink, a lot of us remembering those. We will have some tips on performing proper at-home exams and also some warning signs that many women might overlook. You're watching 11 Alive News at 4. Well, as you may know, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time to honor the lives lost to this devastating disease and also to support survivors who have overcome a very difficult battle. 11 Alive's Aisha Howard talked with Atlanta breast surgeon Dr. April Spencer about just how aware we should be year-round.
Where should women start with taking care of their breast health right now?
I think the best thing is just knowing what the ABCs are of breast health. I like to just try to keep it simple. So the A is just being aware of the guidelines. And so the guidelines are you start your screening mammograms at age 40 unless you have a family history. And if you have a family history, you may want to consider getting your mammogram a little bit sooner, sometimes 5 to 10 years earlier than your average risk woman.
What do I do? What does life look like for me to say that I'm taking my breast health serious? A lot of women say they start with the self-breast exam. Is that enough?
It is not enough, but it is a great place to start. Again, it's not all about just doing the self-breast exam, feeling for a lump. If you see something, say something. Being mindful of our family history, having conversations with your family. You know, like, oh, Aunt such and such died of cancer. Oh, she did? What type? Oh, breast. Well, how old was she?
What are some ways that you see women getting the self-breast exam wrong?
It's usually when you think of the monthly breast exam, you are feeling for that lump. Okay, I don't feel a lump, I must be fine. But again, if you see something, say something. So skin changes. If you see any reddening or darkening of the skin, thickening of the skin, that could be a red flag. I've had patients that have, let's say, a lump underneath their arm. They say, hey, it's not in my breast, so I'm okay. That lump in the arm can be inflamed or enlarged lymph nodes, which could let us know that, hey, there's something going on in the breast. The other thing is nipple discharge. You know, women sometimes will say, oh, I'm lactating, or, you know, I just had a baby, it should be fine, or maybe I was just sweating. So a lot of times we talk ourselves out of symptoms that we really should be concerned about because it's not a lump.
All right, some really good reminders there. By the way, Dr. Spencer, who you just heard from, is hosting a new show on BET Her. It's the cable channel. The show is called Urban MD TV and offers a platform for diving deeper into all of these topics. We have much more on 11alive.com. Coming up next on the news at 5, safety at city parks a top concern, but rumors are swirling that fewer officers will be on patrol. We break it down coming up next at 5.